So, what is a democracy? Have you even heard of what a democracy is? Today we're going to be talking all about democracy. Let's go. So, democracy, according to Plato, democracy, according to Plato, is a society where politics revolve around military prowess and honor. Democracy is a devolution from monarchy and aristocracy. So that's pretty much it. Democracy. Timokratos. Time. So the word democracy actually comes from two words again in Greek, and the first word is time or timi. I'm not sure, but I've heard it say, I've heard people say that it's time, and the other word is kratos. From, of course, that's where all the krasis come from. Power, right? Kratos means power. So timokratos, timokratos, timocracy, right? So what is democracy? And have you ever even heard this word before? Is it even a real word? Like, why does nobody talk about it? But it's actually quite famous and quite um, liked by many ancient civilizations and societies, right? So the um, first actual famous democracy and most famous, I would say, use of democracy in the historical world is ancient Sparta, right? So ancient Sparta, where you have the 300 movie, the Leonidas, the Spartans.
This is Sparta!
They had the Battle of Thermopylae against I think, King Xerxes of the Persian Empire, and that is actually based on the real ancient Sparta, who actually were very militarized, and their form of government was actually democracy. Now, take note, democracy actually has two main components, right? The first component is that it is a government style where you need to have property. You need to have a hold of property. Like the person needs to be holding property in order to run in office or to have a say in the circle, right? In the political and administrative works. The second thing is actually you need to have respect and very great admiration to a point where it's a must to honor. You have to have admiration and respect towards honorifics, merits, and then especially in terms of military prowess, athletic ability, kill count, um, how good you are at chopping off other people's heads and things like this, and or how great of a general you are, how great of an archer you are, whatever. This is actually what is a democracy based off of. So these two things. One, person has to hold property, and property can mean anything. Property can mean uh, not just buildings, not just land, but you have property over animals, cows. You have a million cows, you have a million sheeps, goats, chickens. You have boats, you have slaves, and that could be men or women, or people of foreign foreigners, aliens, aliens as I mean foreigners, not aliens, but foreigners. You could also be taking ownership of other men, soldiers, right? Maybe you're like a commanding officer, a general, not in the sense that you own them, but in the sense that you have dominion over them, you have power over them, you are above them in terms of rank, skill. And also the second component, again, I mentioned was military prowess and the honor of a warrior, right? So these two things. So democracy is those two things, and that is what a democracy is based off of. So what are other examples of a democracy other than ancient Sparta? Number two would be actually the American states right before they were institutionalized into one cohesive unit. So the early American states, or the warring states, not the warring states in China, but the warring factions in US, like Pennsylvania, whatever. These states, they were fighting, and they would have lordship over certain lands, over slaves, over peoples, over property, and That's why the famous saying, I think, in those old Western movies was, "This is my property," right? They would be speaking on uh, not only infamously the African American or the slave people or the black people at the time, right? But they're actually speaking about the property idea, the idea of property uh, distribution, land distribution, people distribution. This is my property. I signed him off. I paid him off. I bought him at an auction, or I paid off the land. I bought the land from an auction, or I fought for the land, or my forefathers fought for the land. Maybe some great general at the battle of whatever land against the local natives, the native Indians, something like this, right? And then they fight for the land, they dispute, and timocratical, right? You could argue it was merit a meritocracy, like they based it on how much service and providence you give, but actually it's more of a timocracy because it's based on honor and property, right? Or property and honor. And the other ones, another example would be the Yamnayas, the Yamnaya people, which are the actually the Proto-Indo-European people. I believe Professor Jiang from Predictive History has spoken about them very intensively. And the Yamnayas are basically the steppe people who still live in a sort of uh, hunter, but not gatherer style, purely, not purely hunter gatherer style, but they hunt because they would invest in sheep herding, cow herding, because the lands are like full grasslands, not easy to farm, not easy to go fishing. So they have full focus on sheep herding, cow herding. And what would you do when you run out of sheep? You go attack other people's sheeps and other people's settlements. And that's how the Yamnayas formed and how they influenced the culture of the steppes. Eventually, they would become the Huns, or otherwise known as the Mongolians, right? Attila the Hun, Genghis Khan, infamous guy, and they would be the basically the extreme timocratical sort of civilization. But they're not purely timocratical because they have feudalism inside their community, and we will be discussing what feudalism is on another episode. But feudalism is basically you have a superpower like a knight or a superior weapon, and the knight kind of like he oversees a bunch of farmers, and the farmers pay debt to him. And since the farmers sometimes they can't pay debt to him, the nobleman or the knight or the extreme the warrior or the warrior family uh, they have monopoly over them. So basically, that's what a feudal style of government is. It's tribal, but there is some sort of politics going on, and I'm gonna refine my thoughts, and I'll make it another video for that. So that's basically what a democracy is. Coincidentally, that we're here, and it isn't like it's in a place like those ancient movies about you know Greek or Roman warriors. They die and then they go to a place like this. Like they die and then they do the the touch grass thing. Like they touch the grass and then they're like in heaven or something, Elysium or something like that. They're like and then the poetry music starts playing like those lyre music and well whatever. But yeah, democracy. Democracy is basically the putting up of property and honor. And only if you have property and honor, you can run in an office. So that's democracy. And I think that that'll suffice for this video. I'm going to see you guys on the next video. Hope I helped you guys learn a bit of democracy. See ya. Yo, side note, check out those mushrooms growing on that tree trunk. I mean, tree branch. Look at that. Put it back to where it was. Beautiful. This place is beautiful, really. Really is.